let's go right ahead and go into this first segment where I talk about these Southeastern Division teams and where exactly they stand going into this next season, what they did last season, and where I feel like they could, where they might need to improve, and what exactly I would think if I was a fan of these teams. So the Southeastern Division is obviously going to be full of teams in the Eastern Conference, and the teams are the Orlando Magic, the Miami Heat, and the Atlanta Hawks, as well as the Charlotte Hornets and the Washington Wizards. So this is so far this has like been one of the weaker divisions that I've done. Not many there's only 2 teams that made the postseason in this entire division, and both of those teams ended up losing in the first round. So it's not really a very successful division in the NBA, but that doesn't mean that the teams don't have the potential to become even more dangerous, especially as the years move on, given how young, especially the first team that I'm about to mention. So the Orlando Magic, they ended last season as the 5th seed. They were a first round exit, and they but like really nobody expected them to actually like even be in the postseason, let alone be able to play up to 7 games in the postseason. So I'm sure like if I was an Orlando Magic fan, I'd be feeling really good about this lineup again, and I really want to run it back. I think that the lineup is going to return back better than ever. They just signed KCP. They expect the young players are expected to develop, and it's a very, very young team, and they have a lot to be excited about in this next season alone. So imagine just how much better they'll be for the future. So the Magic, they aren't a top tier team of the conference, like how the Knicks, the Celtics, and the 76ers are most likely going to be in the Eastern Conference. But they are a threat against every single one of those teams. So, they might not be a big name in the Eastern Conference like the previous teams that I mentioned, but they could still, upset either one of those teams in the postseason if one of the teams that I mentioned gives them a chance. Like, it's not like Orlando is just going to roll over and accept the loss quietly. Similar to this very next team that I'm talking about right now, the Miami Heat. So when the Miami Heat, when they have Jimmy Butler, they are like in the argument every single time for being one of the best teams in the postseason. And it's like Jimmy Butler in the postseason is a legend. His performances are legendary, and his his style of play, everybody really likes it. Everybody really likes Jimmy, and most of the time, whenever he's healthy in the postseason, the Miami Heat have and find success. But in this year, he was not in the postseason, and unfortunately, the Heat were only able to win 1 game in the entire postseason, and they lost in the first round as the 8th seed. And really, if I was a fan of the Miami Heat, I mean, I'd be like, okay, we didn't have Jimmy, so we just have to like wait another year for him to be in the postseason. But now I'd be a little bit more scared considering the fact that Jimmy Butler still hasn't re-signed with the Miami Heat. So it's starting to look like this is going to be the last year for Jimmy Butler, which is something that I wouldn't want to happen if I was a Miami Heat fan. Like, I'd want I'd want the Miami Heat to do everything they possibly could to re-sign Jimmy Butler, give him however much money he wants, and that would ensure him to sort of, stay on the roster. And once again, aside from that, the Heat, they're basically running it back. Seemingly, it's going to be another year of relying on Jimmy and his heroics and the Heat culture to hang with the rest of the players in the Eastern Conference. Now, most of the time, I mean, you could argue that it's back and forth with the Celtics. Miami beats them, Celtics beat them, Miami ends up beating them, and the Celtics beat them, and it's a little bit of a cycle that they go through. So maybe you might want to argue that the Heat end up beating the Celtics in this go round as opposed to the previous one, but who knows, again, what their ceiling could be. It's all dependent on how well Jimmy Butler plays in the postseason. They are primarily known as a postseason team, so it's what they do in the regular season doesn't really matter to a lot of people. So, the postseason is really where this team is supposed to shine. But this team, however, used to be one of the most feared teams in the postseason, with Trae Young and his Atlanta Hawks being able to make it to the Eastern Conference Finals in that 1 year. I believe it was 2021. He made it to the Conference Finals before Luka, by the way. But ever since that season, he hasn't really found that much success in the postseason. And I mean, you could argue that his series, again, the only really good series that he had was against the Knicks in the first round when Julius Randle was their best player. And it's this Atlanta Hawks team with Trae Young and DeJounte has been rather mid, and it's you can't be mid when you have a duo as talented as those two, in my opinion. And they are a 10th seeded team. They lost in the play-in, and they're led by a great, fantastic player, but they're just an army of just mediocre players. So it's most of the success they get comes from Trae Young, and he needs to be surrounded by competent role players if they really want to have some sort of chance in winning. So, they got to try it again now. They have to. There's obviously going to be an upside in being able to use their number one pick to the best of their ability. So they have to hope that he lands, and they already have their player picked, but they just have to hope that he develops into the player that they're hoping he can be, the best kind of player that he can be. So it's once that happens, then it should make your title odds and your success at going for a title all that easier. So now we have two of the bottom feeding teams in the Eastern Conference. We have the Charlotte Hornets, and they are the 13th seed in the entire NBA. They were terrible in last season. They were they were so bad. They were less than good last year. They were less than good the year before that. It's just been a train wreck. And really, the one good thing that they have going for them for their future, in my opinion, is LaMelo Ball. The Ball brother, the Ball boy, he is a fantastic player. And really, the one problem with him is that he keeps getting injured. He keeps getting these ankle injuries, and they always they affect him in the worst possible way. He gets them at the worst possible times as well, and he's very young for the team. He's still a very young guard, but the fact that he keeps getting injured this much is just it's shaving off more years that you could get from him, and he's. The team looks capable and competitive on paper, but they haven't really been in the playoff conversation for a very long time. And it's if they can get into the play-in conversation with the team they have now, then that's a pretty good start. But hopefully their 6th overall pick ends up landing as well. and he ends up performing to the best of his ability, and he becomes the best player he could be. But we have to wait and see just how well that develops. And then in the final team on this list is the number 14th seed, the Washington Wizards. They they have not been a competing team for a while, ever since they lost John Wall and Bradley Beal. And so they have 3 first-round rookies, and there's no real pressure for the... Hold on just one second. There we go. There's no real pressure for the Wizards to really, play well in this season. They have no expectations, really. Like, if you're gonna ask anyone what they think of the Wizards, they're gonna think that, okay, they don't really deserve this, they don't really deserve that, they don't need to do this or that. And it's like, there's no pressure to win. They can prioritize their development, and they can try tanking for Cooper Flagg, and they also, it's not like they have any bad players on the team. They do have Kyle Kuzma. They could end up trading Kyle Kuzma to develop some really good value for the team. But those are what I think of all the all the teams and the situations that are surrounding these teams. So I'll be right back after this short break, and I'll be talking about the most recent WNBA record that was broken by surprise, Caitlin Clark. And I'll also be talking about the Rookie of the Year race for the WNBA. So I'll be right back after this short break. So be sure to stay tuned.
I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind? Please, Lord, give me a sign, a sign. I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind? Please, Lord, give me a sign, a sign.
I wanna be the greatest. Everybody on the fake shit. I look around and feel like everybody is the fakest. I make this every day and I'm impatient, hoping one day I blow up from the basement. Statement, the top is so vacant. I don't hear shit that I think is amazing. Waiting for my day when I'm playing sold out shows for 1,000 faces. Hey, give me that crown, get in my way and to be put down. It ain't your place, all this my town. If I want that shit, then I'll get it right now. I'm losing it, the noose it fits, some losing shit, a stupid myth. You choose to live or choose to dip, you choose to fight or lose your grip and lose a gift.
I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind? Please, Lord, give me a sign, a sign. I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the